Was it? He was just from what you always hear. He was always like pro netminder. He used to be a netminder, is the story.
Yeah, I remember. He played in Murrayfield, I think, didn't he? Back. I know he played for Edinburgh. I know that. The Racers, was it, or
Yeah,
the Flyers or something?
yeah. There's
I don't know. I remember
the
talking with
Murrayfield
him about
Racers.
it. Yeah, way back in the day. But yeah, it's been, well, how long has it been since I played Nottingham? 10 years, maybe more.
2011 would have been when you won the playoffs. Would have been your last game.
Yeah, when we beat Cardiff, right?
Yeah, when they were the
I
best team ever, setting all those records.
Yeah, and then we beat them in the playoffs. Yeah, to take them down. But yeah, it was a high-scoring game if I remember right. Wasn't it like 5-4 or something?
Yeah, is
Went
that
back and forth, back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you had that one where you tapped the stick on the ice and Gerard Adams passed it to you and you gave it straight to Matthew.
I actually remember that. I called for a reverse and he put it right on my tape. So I remember talking to him about that years later or whatever. And he's like, as soon as you called, I knew it was you, but I passed it anyway, he said. So it was pretty funny. Yeah.
So
but anyway, yeah, so my first year, I was coming from Germany and Corey, I was going to go back to Germany. Corey called me and said, because I played with him in Pensacola, and we become good friends. Like Corey's kind of a weird dude. He doesn't have a lot of friends because he's kind of a social idiot. So, but I love him to death. But anyway, he called me and said, "Hey, why don't you come to Nottingham?" And I was like, I was there in Germany for 3 years, so I was like, maybe I'll switch it up and go over there and see how it is. So. When I got there, yeah, Corey was nothing but great. I immediately became friends with David Clark and Danny Myers. We were kind of close through my 3 years, really close. So if it wasn't for those guys, I probably wouldn't have been back the year after. I was going to go somewhere else, but then Corey said come back, and yeah, and the rest is history.
And Corey's got he's got a unique personality as well, but he's really dry for a North American. Was when
Very.
You Pensacola, how did you get on with him right away, or was it a case of having to get used to him? Because everyone seems to have to get used to him.
Well, the thing is when I was in Pensacola, like I was just a loose cannon. Like I said what I felt. It's probably why I ruined my career at such a young age. So in the dressing rooms, I would say things like not to players, I'd just say what I felt, like funny anecdotes during the game or whatever. And Corey just loved it. So right off of that, we became buddies, and we loved to play cards on the bus too. So we were always sitting beside each other, playing all the time. So, we had our likes and dislikes were kind of the same, but our personalities were totally different. So.
Then you mentioned Clarkey. You and him, obviously you got on off the ice, but on the ice, do you think that off-ice chemistry helped you two on the ice? Because Galbraith to Clark is a famous line in Nottingham.
Oh, absolutely. He's probably the most famous, I'd say, British player ever to play in the Elite League, I would think. The guy scored so many goals, like probably one of the purest goal scorers I've ever played with. And that's even with the guys I've played with. Danny Heatley I played with, and he scored 50 in the NHL. Like his knack for the scoring was unbelievable. If he was 6'2" and a big guy, I could definitely see him went over to North America playing in the A and maybe even playing in games in the NHL like that. He was that talented. But yeah, off the ice, me, you've heard stories. I leave it all out there. I don't care what people think. I live my life. And David, he loved that. We always had a good rapport. If I needed to say anything, he always knew that I'd say it to him. And the same with him. Like if he was pissed off at me on something as well, like we always got it out in the open. So I think that was really good, especially that we played together all 3 years. So we knew each other. I knew where he was all the time. It made it really easy to play with. So.
Have you ever played with a guy in better shape than him? Because he's always got 0%
body
fat.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's got the black body for sure. Not an ounce of fat on him. So he was always in great shape. I wish I could have took a little bit out of his workout schedule, but it was funny because people would laugh at we're the total opposites, right? He scores, I pass. He's skinny, I'm fat. He's fast, I'm slow, kind of thing like that. So, but I think we played with levers most of our career too. So he was a great guy to get into the corners. He did all the dirty stuff and got me the puck, and I got it to David. And yeah, our line was great. We were always good together.
And when you look at that locker room, when you walk in, how important are those British players to welcome the
Oh,
imports in?
well, absolutely. Well, first of all, you're never going to win if you don't have British players. Right off the bat, I don't care how good your imports are if you don't have British players. And I'm not saying the best British players. I'm just saying they know their role and they play it well. If you don't have those, you're never going to win 100% in that league, especially winning the championship. You won't. You'll never win. Like the season-long championship. But yeah, as soon as we came in there, the Brits were great. Like they knew we were coming in there. We were going to be the guys that played more for the most part. Like a lot of the guys, played like David and those guys knew they were going to play their ice time. But some of the guys, knew that we were taking ice time away, and they still were great people. I never ever had a problem with any Brit that I played with. I loved them all. Really, yeah, I'm trying to think if I even disliked anybody, and really I didn't even dislike anybody. Like all the guys, even the young guys, like when I came in, Lakovic, who's now he's played 12 years, 13 years now in that league.
He's 30.
He's 30 years old, man. Wow. God, because I was 25 when he was like 18. So yeah, man, 30 years old. God, and now he's playing. You guys are doing great in the World Championships, which is awesome. It's great to see the league getting there finally, because it has been a stretch. I think the British League's way better than the French League, way better. But they always seem to do better in the World Championships and stuff. So I know now the coaching in the British League is way better than it used to be. Good people. Teams aren't having player coaches as much, which really helps because it is hard to coach and play at the same time. It's like Jordan and me did it a little bit in Braehead. It was just a disaster, mostly because of me, but it was just a tough way to do it, right? To play and to coach. But I'm saying, like, especially now the Champions League you guys got now too. I wish I played in that. That's awesome. A lot of my buddies have played on teams that play in the Champions League team in Germany and all those other leagues, Austria and Germany, or not Germany, Swiss, the Swedish league, Finnish league, all those leagues, right? So I think the British league is really doing well with that, and it can only get better.
And I was going to ask you this a bit later on, but you mentioned that you'd love to play in these competitions. Do you think that your style of play would have been more suited to how the game is now? Because back then, guys could grab you more, they could slow you down. But now you'd be given more freedom, more ice, and you could do pretty much whatever you wanted out there.
Everything, because power play is huge now, and that was my thing. I was a power play player, offensive player, definitely. If I was born either 10 years earlier or 10 years later, I think I would have been all right. But again, I didn't work out. If my body was better, it wouldn't have mattered. But I just, I lived my life first, and that was about it. I regret a lot of stuff, but that being the most, I think if I would have put more effort into it, it would have been better for me in a career. But I can't complain. I had a great time, and my stats speak for themselves.
And when you look back when you first got to Nottingham, you obviously Corey will have told you about the arena, the fans, and the city. What did you make? What were your first impressions of those things?
Well, I heard from a couple guys that played. Brad Cruikshank. I knew Brad Cruikshank from Pensacola as well, and I just asked him, how the league was, and he's like, the top teams have great rinks, great fans, but there's going to be some rinks that you're like, wow, this is like shinny hockey back home. Which Edinburgh. First time I went to Edinburgh, I love Edinburgh now, but first time I went there, I was like, how is this a professional rink? And then Basingstoke as well, I was like, same thing when they were there, but. The players were good, and that's all that matters, right? So the fans, there's no fans watching now, so there's no fans in Basingstoke, so I guess it's the same sort of thing as playing now. So other than that, the 5 years that I played, the league got better every single year, I thought. So, that's how you can tell a league is getting better. There's more notoriety, as you can probably attest to now with David Sims doing his video, the show. More people are watching it, and I found that I think fans grew, didn't it, in the years I was there? Like Braehead got way more fans. I remember going. Now Cardiff has a new rink, and they're doing well. Like all the teams are getting better, and now they got some new teams Guildford and those teams that were really good in the APL, right?
Yeah, Milton Keynes.
Yeah,
Milton Keynes came up and went back down, and then Guildford came up and stayed up. So Guildford is still there. And
Nice.
Edinburgh dropped out as well.
What did? Who did?
Edinburgh.
Oh, they're done now?
Yeah.
Okay, because I kind of talked with the owner. What was his name again?
Scott Neal.
Yeah, Scott Neal. And we were chatting about a couple things. Just he was picking my brain about how, to get Edinburgh, more out there, right? And I just said, well, first you need a rink. You can't do it without some people wanting to come to a facility, right? Like you look right across from the rink and you see the nicest rugby facility pretty much in the UK, I would think. Beautiful. And then you look over at that tin can airplane hangar and, it doesn't matter what you do to that place. It's got history, but until you renovate it to the point where people want to come, it's tough to get fans to go there.
And then that's the kind of thing about, like, they had the big iron pillar, like 4 big iron pillars in the stands. If you were sat in one place, you couldn't see down the other end.
Couldn't see it, absolutely. And it's got great history, but the parking's bad. It's in not a great location.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things that nothing about it is helping itself out. So I always knew that Neil loved the team and would try his best to keep them there. But I figured at some point they were going to have to go out because they just, first of all, they don't win. And that's another thing. You need to win to get fans out, right? So it was a tough situation.
They didn't win, and they always had a high turnover of players throughout the season as well. So you could never. They'd start off with some decent players, and then they'd all be gone by October. It was just weird.
It is because you can't pay them, right? So he could pay them at the start when the fans were coming, but once the fans kind of died out, I remember the guys getting paid in cash after games because that was the only time he could get some money through, right? So it's a tough situation, man. Especially, I came from the DEL in Germany, which is one of the best leagues in the world. And then you go to the British League, which some teams are professionally ran like that. Nottingham, it's probably the best run team in the UK, just with the facility, the professionalism, all that stuff. It's great. Sheffield, same thing. Cardiff now is one of the best. Braehead is run really well now too. But until the whole league has good facilities and has the better players so the fans come, until that happens, it's going to be one of those leagues it's still trying to make a name for itself.
And how did you find as a North American? Obviously, you played in Europe for a bit, but how did you find coming in and having the league as the priority? Was that a hard mindset to get into?
It is. It's really hard when you're a team that wherever you go, it's the main draw. Like if our fans didn't go to certain away games, those teams wouldn't have enough money to pay. Like it was one of those things that, Nottingham kept that league going for a while. Obviously the Sheffields, Coventry had a great base too. The high end teams had they had a job to keep that league going, like fans as well. And it's a lot of pressure for that, especially Nottingham, like not winning the league for so many years and having such a good team. Like that was a lot of pressure as well. Like they didn't care about anything else but winning the league, and coming from North America, playoffs is the most important thing. Like playoffs, winning the championship at the end of the year, like to change over to that is really weird. But you guys have had that. That's like a soccer mentality or a football mentality that you got to win the stage, like the league. So I learned that really quick. And when we weren't winning, it was kind of like, yeah, you heard about it, definitely.
And then you mentioned Sheffield. How did you find the Panthers-Steelers rivalry?
I loved it. It was awesome. Any like rivalry where people get excited, people like have a hatred for it is awesome. That's what sports are made of. You don't want to go to a team where the fans don't give a shit and there's no atmosphere and you really don't, you know what I mean? Like I tried, like in Nottingham, we had a lot of rivals. Like with Coventry, with the bench clearing brawls we had with them, we hated them. Their fans hated us, we hated them, which was awesome going into that rink and feeling that. Sheffield is always going to be like that, so that's great too. But as a player or an athlete, when you go into a game, you want that atmosphere. You want that where they hate you, you hate them, the battles that you have to go through, because who wants to just go play a game and just kind of go out there and do your thing and be over with? It's not fun. It just really isn't.
And then there was all, I remember as a fan back in those days, the rumor every off season was Jade Galbraith leaving Nottingham to go to Sheffield. How close was that ever to happening, if it was at all?
Well, me and David Sims are pretty tight. We're pretty tight at the time. So I think Dave did that mostly to just rouse you fans up. I was going to go there my second year Brayhead. I was going to go over there, but until Jordan was going to be coach and I was going to be assistant coach, that kind of helped me out. And as you know, I had back surgery and the worst season in my professional career. So it didn't work out as well as I planned. So yeah, that was tough. But really, other than that year, I never was going to go to Sheffield.
So then, obviously, you have your first year in Nottingham. There's no silverware or anything. What were you always? Were you like say, I want to? Were you already like, I want to come back to Nottingham. I want to give this another go and win something here.
Well, definitely. I had a terrible year too. Points wise, I did all right, but I just didn't feel like I gave up my best. So I talked to Corey, and Corey's like, "Well, you got to get in better shape." So I worked out pretty hard, and well, for me, pretty hard. Not really hard, but pretty hard. And I came back and had a great year. I think I was third in the league. And we won we won the Challenge Cup, and we made it to the finals of the playoffs, I think.
Yeah. You beat Cardiff.
So we were almost two trophies. Yeah, we were almost two trophies. So that was way better. During the league, we didn't have players to come to play all the time, which if you don't, you're not going to win the league. You're still going to be a good team, but until you come to play every single day, it just doesn't work out. So
it was one of those years where you almost like you beat Sheffield on the Saturday, but then you'd lose in Hull on the Sunday.
Yeah,
that kind of year.
Well, that was the thing. Like I pride myself on whenever I play, I produce. That's my job. Like I might party a lot and do all that stuff off the ice, but whenever I come to play, like my points per game was almost 1.7 in my career there. So I always produced. But some guys, just it wouldn't come, and our team, and that's a team atmosphere, right? So we would always win the big game, and then the next game we'd have a lull. And I found Nottingham, the 3 years I was there, it happened all the time. Like we were so good, we probably should have won almost every game, but I don't know what happened. We just, as a team, I'm not saying me or anybody else, but as a team, we just have little letdowns and lose to teams we never should have.
And you always say the thing about Nottingham is the thing Nottingham is infamous for is the December slump. Could you ever put your finger on what went wrong in December?
I don't know. I never really realized it there, but if I look back, it probably, yeah, you're probably right. We lost a lot around there. I don't know, maybe, but every team, has Christmas coming up and family and all that kind of stuff coming through. But I really can't say. It's just one of those things that I just found that we always had a time where we just didn't perform and produce, and that's, you need to do that in a 62 game season, especially when every game matters. In the UK or in every other league, as long as you make the playoffs, you have a chance, right? So if you go through a slump, you're like, okay, well, we can bounce back, but you can't bounce back when another team is winning 4 out of 5 games. Every 2 weeks they might lose a game, maybe, and you can't gain any ground. So I thought that once you go in a lull, it's impossible to get back into it.
And then that year you won the Challenge Cup. You get to win it on home ice. You lift it on home ice. You've got you're rolling into it. What did it mean to win that trophy at home?
Well, anything like what the championship we won in the next year at home. Like the good thing about Nottingham is everything's played in Nottingham, so we have an advantage. People say that Nottingham doesn't have an advantage, or they try to play it like they don't. They do. Sleeping in your own bed, having the fans there all the time. That atmosphere during the playoff weekend is awesome. You know what I mean? Like it is an atmosphere or an advantage. I mean, but to win anything on home ice, like I won a championship in the States my first year in the East Coast League, and we won it at home, and it's awesome. But really, I wouldn't care where you win a championship. You win it anywhere and you're happy. Like we won it the next one in Belfast when we beat them. So it was just as sweet there as it was at home. So I love winning at home, but it really doesn't matter to me.
And that second year, you went from wearing number 40 to number 13. What went into that?
I think I just wanted to get. I had such a bad year for
Oh,
myself. I just wanted to get away from that number. And 13 is everybody's unlucky number, and everybody kind of was all over me in Nottingham. So I was like, you know what, I'll wear 13 just to kind of screw with them a bit and make it an unlucky. Because every team that has 13, they say is unlucky. So I was like, you know what, I'll just wear 13 and see what happens. And since I wore 13, it was awesome. I did a lot better. So.
and then it goes through to the playoff weekend. I think you scored one of the best goals in playoff history there, where Corey pops out from behind the net and just breaks you through against Belfast to tie it up. What do you remember about the atmosphere in that building? Because that playoff weekend, there's nothing quite like it, is there, with all the different fans around the arena?
No, it's amazing, like how you guys have each team has their own area of the rink. Like it's awesome. And you can always tell that if some team doesn't like another team, like Hull was always kind of on our side against most teams. And, obviously Sheffield, Coventry were always cheering for us to lose, all that kind of thing. But I remember that because I missed, and then the rebound came out and I scored, I think. And we took a 3-1 lead going into Belfast, I remember. The Challenge Cup. Is that what you're talking about?
No, the playoff weekend, the one in 09-10 where you lost on penalties.
Oh, yeah, okay, yes.
Corey popped out from behind the net, sprang you tied it up, and then it went through to the shootout.
Yeah, we lost. I think I scored again, though, but I didn't miss many shootouts. I think I scored maybe 90% of my breakaways and shootouts, which I pride myself. I love breakaways, love shootouts. But that's pressure right there. Like, it's crazy seeing, 12,000 fans, some like you, some don't. And, one goal decides if you're going to go or if you're going to win or anything like that. So it was, it's tough, man. But it's sports. I love it. I love the pressure. I loved it.
And then, if I remember correctly, you had mainly two moves on the shootout. You go the quick shot through the 5-hole, the way you sit the goalie down and do the backhand above them.
Yeah.
Did you?
Well, that's the thing. I always, when I go down a shootout, it's not just making the move. You look at where the goalie is. If he's back in his net, I'll shoot. And if he's out past the crease, then I'll fake a shot and then I'll go to my backhand. But that's the thing. If you make the goalie make the first move, it's the easiest thing in the world because it's hard to. And obviously I have decent hands, so some guys that can't really do that. But there is a method to my madness. It's not just go there and go backhand and score. It's mostly looking at the goalie and where he is, and that's why I go slow when I skate in there all the time. Is a goalie, it's easier for the goalie to read when you're coming at speed because they're used to that. They're not used to a guy going really slow into it. So that's something that I love to do, and as you can see, I did it pretty well.
I think the statement that Jade Galbraith had decent hands may be the biggest understatement in all of ice hockey that you just made then.
Well, yeah, that's like my passing, my vision. That was me. My legs weren't the good thing on my body. It was my hands for sure. So.
And what was it you enjoyed about the shootout? Was it the fact that it's pure theatre, the shootout? Was it that it like made you love that so much?
The pressure of, one-on-one. That's what I love about it, is people watching you. If I miss, I know I'm going to get just greased by the fans. They're going to start getting on me. But if I score, I can shut them up. So that was what I loved about it. So I love shootouts. But I love breakaways in game. Shootouts are shootouts, but like in game breakaways, I loved too. So.
And you kind of had that relationship with the Nottingham fans, where if you did well and you scored, you were the best player in the world. But if you didn't get a point, the fans kind of beat you up a little bit because they expected more of you.
It was. But mostly because they knew that I went out and partied all the time, and I lived my life first, and hockey was a second. And I should have been better about it, but I'm not going to take anything back. It's over with now. But in hindsight, I shouldn't have. And I liked getting the fans riled up. Like I liked doing that. So I guess it's not. I should take more responsibility for it. But on that end, I liked it. I like going out partying and then winning a game and scoring 2 goals or whatever. So you know what I mean. Like, so they can't say anything about it. It's the kind of thing. That was my drive. Was after I partied, I knew that I had to perform. So I always figured out a way to get it.
And then then it comes to year 3 in Nottingham. How easy was that decision to make to come back again?
Well, I wanted to win the league, and I thought I was playing better. If we got a couple extra pieces in, I thought we could do it. So that's why me and Corey were like, let's try one more time. And then after the third year, it was like the Bulls, the Jordan and the Bulls kind of thing. If we were going to win, maybe I would have stayed again. But it was pretty much my last year there. So, we won 2 trophies, but it would have been unbelievable. How many points did we miss the thing by? By the league? Were we like 6 or 7 points behind or something?
I'm not sure, because I think that was the year where you had that really weird part of the season where you kept losing in Newcastle and everyone got really upset about that.
Yeah. God. That rink is god awful, man. I've never seen a rink with the lowest ceiling like I've ever seen in a hockey rink ever in my life. So, but anyway, yeah, we shit the bed on a lot of those little games, but we did really well. Like 2 trophies, that's pretty good. And I just wish we would have been able to get the league, but it didn't happen. And then Nottingham won it. What was it, the next year or thereafter?
2 years later.
2 years later. Yeah.
So, and that 2010-11 team, have you ever played on a tougher team than that? Because obviously that had Gila Pin, Alex Penner, Rob Bellamy came into that team. Yeah. That was a really tough team.
It was. Penner was one of the toughest guys I've, seen. Kind of a crazy guy. Like, you don't want to screw around with a guy like that. Like when he sucker punched Lapine there, or not Lapine, Latulippe. Yeah, and just ended his season. So, he could snap it. I loved him to death, but he was kind of scary if you were on the other side of it. He was a tough guy. Like McMorrow and him went at it a couple times too. Good fights. But yeah, Lapine too, really tough. Him and Penner, if they ever fought, would be a good fight too. But I thought, we like Nottingham again. We just couldn't put them together at the times that we needed to, and we had a playoff team. We were built for that. We had great players. We weren't gonna, let that slide. I think, and I think if it was an 82 game season, I think we would have won everything. But because it was so short, we had to figure it out quicker than we did. So, but I don't regret it. We had a great season, and it was good for my last one. So,
and then that year, a pretty big name in Panthers history alongside Gila Pin came in Craig Kowalski. What do you remember about K-Wall?
I loved him, man. Little goalie, character, funny guy. For a small goalie, unbelievable. Like if he was a 6'3" goalie, he would have played in the NHL his whole career, 100%. But because he was so small, he had to learn how to get around, but unbelievable goalie. Loved him. Great teammate. Funny little guy, as you know, by probably interviewing him and stuff like that. So, nobody on Nottingham I didn't dislike. So it was always good, man. I
always heard that training wasn't his favorite thing, and he let goals in training and things. But then when it came to the game,
yeah. Oh, in a game, like in if you deked him in practice, he wouldn't even move. And if you were trying to go top corner, he wouldn't bother with it, right? He was there, just going through the motions, pretty much like I was. But in a game, like he was focused, always ready to go. So that's why he played so many years in Nottingham, because he was a gamer. Like he won games. So.
And then one of the most memorable games from that year is that the season opener against Belfast that went to the shootout. Right. And obviously you had the goal that you scored that Murray Hansen disallowed. I want to tell me how mad you were during that and how determined you were to get another chance to finish that game.
Well, the funny thing was it was on TV, right? It was a live game. Yeah. So everybody, I know Christensen and Sims were doing the game, and they even said to me, like after I scored, they're like, that was a goal. So why they didn't go and take a look and make sure it was in, I don't get it. So kind of bothered me a bit. I got a chance to do it, and the rest is history, I guess.
Yeah, a very memorable celebration as well with you pointing at the net.
Well, somebody had to.
And then that year rolls on, and then that's the year where you have the bench clearing ball with Coventry.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you remember about that? Because I remember the game was like they were accusing us of always knocking Brett Yeager in their goal, and then something got said to Cruikshank. He ran cable, and then at what point were you like, "Oh, we've got to go off this bench now"?
Well, what happened was, I think it was Bruce Richardson and what's his name, the short little bald guy, Stewart. Stewart was there
Danny
in
Stewart,
Coventry. Yeah, Danny Stewart. Yeah, so those two were jawing at each other, and then during a play, I think somebody hit somebody from behind, or I know I was out on the ice. I know I got thrown in the box before everything really got happened. Me and Penner were in there before anybody, and then everything kind of went crazy. Penner jumped out of the box. I didn't want to get suspended 20 games, so I kind of stayed right around there. But man, those are awesome. I had a couple in junior hockey. You know, we all respect each other, so nothing bad is really going to happen. People are going to fight, and that's what's going to happen. But I was never worried about anybody getting hurt or anything like that. It was just one of those things that it boiled up to a point where it had to happen.
I think when you mentioned about Alex Penner being a crazy guy, there's that famous clip of him. He's in the corner with his shirt off, and he's got two Coventry guys just hanging off him as he's absolutely pounding both of them.
Yeah, he was a tough guy in a lot of leagues. Big guy, strong, but a great guy though. Like all those tough guys are usually great guys off the ice, and teammates are great guys because it is. I always say that's the toughest job in sports is to be a tough guy in the NHL. It's very, very hard, and the guys you got to fight and the guys you are protecting people against are men. Like when you think of a man, no, these guys like Ryan Reeves, who's the last tough guy in the NHL. He's huge. Like you're going against those guys every night. Like it's the toughest job. So I give those guys a lot of credit. And Penner was one of the best that I've ever played with.
And I think that incident was kind of what finished the league out because K-Wall goes down then and he's out for like a month or something. Kevin St. Pierre comes in, but he hasn't been playing, and he gave it a good go. Like he was a good goalie, but he just wasn't in game mode.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he was really never in game fit from what I remember, but he came in, he did his job. We won some games, and we got back. And once Craig was back, we continued on how we were doing. So, the ups and downs of hockey during the year is one of those things that something's going to happen. There's not a team or a player that doesn't go through at least a little bit of a slump. If you don't, then you're the luckiest guy, the luckiest team, but it never really happens. So the thing is about getting back as quick as you can. And we got back to winning, and, we had a great end of the season, and then that's what drove us into the playoffs and how we finished.
Then Daniel Kachuk and Jeff Harima come in January, late January, early February. Honestly, they've got a ton of NHL experience behind them. It took Jeff a little bit to get going, but when he got going, you could see how special a player he was.
Yeah, very special. You don't go first round and play games in the NHL if you're not one of those players. And Jeff, he was my roommate when he came. Unbelievable guy. We had a riot, great times. But again, European hockey's different. It takes certain players, some time to get acclimated to it. And it took him. But once he was going, Daniel had a tougher time. He was more a North American player, more just up and down instead of side to side. Europe is more side to side, more bigger rinks, play with puck, and in the AHL and the NHL for the most part is up and down the wings, get the puck in, right? And so it took them a little bit longer, but once they do, their skills showed through, and they did fine.
And then as it rolls on, like you say, you win the Challenge Cup in Belfast, and a lot of guys say that playing in Belfast is one of the toughest rinks to play because a lot of the times you fly out there, you play on the same day. Obviously, for like you say, a guy like you who likes to live life, there's a lot of distractions in Belfast. It's a very nice city.
Oh yeah, I've went out many times in Belfast, but when we went to Belfast, I thought for the most part, Nottingham, we did well there. We were always close, overtime games, that kind of thing. It's just because the atmosphere, right? It's great atmosphere, great fans, great rink. So, you love playing in a nice rinks and good atmospheres. It brings your level of game up. But Belfast has always been a good team. We've always butted heads with them, even probably now in the Elite League. I guarantee that there's been battles. No team really gets the best of the team during the year. It's one of those things that's back and forth, and a lot of ties and a lot of one goal games. So I loved it. I loved Belfast. Great city, great facility, great run organization. It was always a pleasure to go there.
And then, like I said, you win the Challenge Cup in Belfast, and then it rolls on to the playoffs. And now that is probably the toughest playoff weekend that Nottingham could have got. You have to face Sheffield, who are the champions, and then you've got Belfast or Cardiff in the final. Now that game against Sheffield, the semi-final, what do you remember about that?
Oh, what was the score? Did we kill them?
That's the one where Lacko scored in overtime.
Oh, okay, yeah. So what was it, like 2-2 or
4-3? Because K-Wall had to save a penalty as well from their coach, penalty shot.
Oh, yeah. Damn it! I always forget. Like, I don't remember that. I remember more against Cardiff than I remember that. But man, I don't even remember that, to tell you the truth. I guess just because Cardiff was such a back and forth game, I don't even remember playing Sheffield. But like you say, Sheffield games are like Belfast games. They're never easy. I don't think my whole career in Nottingham we beat. I think one year we had Sheffield's number where we won like 4 out of 6 or something. I think that's the only time. All the other ones where we either lost or we were 3-3 or something. So yeah, I don't remember much about that at all. I remember the Cardiff game, but not the Sheffield game. Damn.
Yeah, and then the one thing the Sheffield coach said, he said it's just such a shame that there wasn't a 7-game series between these two teams.
Oh, I agree. That's a thing they have to change. I think in the semifinals they should have a 3-game series, and then the final they should have a 7, because again, some teams just have it on the night, right? And it could be a lot better. And plus, fans, coaches, we all want to play a team and have a rivalry and build up that. You know what I mean? Like, whenever there's a final, other than the one that Hull made it to, other than that final, all the other finals are close games, like, are battles. So I think they got to change that. I know that it's late in the season, and then all that, whatever the league has a time limit. We had to be out of there a certain time for the visas and whatnot. But I think shorten the season a couple weeks, and then have a playoff, because I think there'll be a lot more upsets. There'll be battles. There'll be I just think one games are really tough, and I think hockey is the kind of sport that you can play more than one game. Football, that kind of stuff, like NFL football, you're battling so hard. I understand that, but hockey, I think, like this year when they did the 3-game series, I think I was pissed off in the NHL a bit, because again, you could just have it that week and win. You know what I mean? But in a 7-game, it could go 7. So it's one of those things that, it might change, it might not. You never know. But I firmly agree with making it a 7-game or at least a 5-game series.
And then Corey Neilson's Panthers team's always had a good record in those one-off games. What do you put that down to? Because I know he's an X's and O's, he's a hockey nerd kind of guy.
Yeah.
He'll really, that's what you always hear. What do you put it down to, how he got you prepared for those one-off games?
Well, we had gamers. We had, when playoffs came, we came to play. Like, I was the kind of guy that I pride myself on winning playoff games, because that's what real hockey is. And we had gamers most of the time. I understand sometimes the team is just better than you, but for the most part, we worked hard and we won, like, because we had the skill and we came to play. Like, I firmly believe that the Brits we had were the reason why they were so good was because they played in games that mattered. And that's all that one gamers. If you have the best players in the world that, will show up sometimes and kind of shut her down sometimes, you don't want those guys. You want those consistent guys that are there all the time. And I thought we had those guys, like the Clarks, the Danny Myers, the Matthew Myers. He worked his bag off all the time, was a great player. All those guys, Lackwich, those guys that made a great career because they were consistent. So I thought that's why we won. But Corey definitely got us prepared.
And then rolls around to that final that you say you remember. I remember I had David Beauregard on here, and he said that when you were going into that game, it was just in the locker room, we are not losing this game, not against those guys, because they'd set like a winning record, Guinness World Record for wins in a row. They got Craig Weller, who everyone was saying was the best player in the league. It was kind of a point to prove against them, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And we kind of figured that we would beat them, to tell you the truth. The only times they beat us were in their barn, really. And during the year, we had their number. So it wasn't the way we wanted to win it, going back and forth, because it was like 1-0, 1-1, 2-1, 2-2, 3-2, 3-3. It was back and forth until Bobby Ryan, or not Bobby, Billy scored to make it 5-4, and that was the thing, right? So I loved it. I loved back and forth games. It was a battle. Fans were going crazy. It was high scoring, which everybody likes. So yeah, I thought it was awesome. But we were determined, definitely determined.
And how infectious is it on the bench when a guy like David Beauregard, who's 35, 36 years old, he scores a goal, and every time he celebrates, it's like he scored his first ever professional goal when he scores. How infectious is that to a team in that kind of high-profile game?
Oh, yeah. Well, any goal, like, being scored in playoffs, like, guys are getting fired up. Like, because there's always a guy or two that don't score many goals that'll make a great play and do it, and that's what pumps you up, and that's what gets you going. So I remember Matthew Myers scored, and he hadn't scored in a while. So, just that too as well. So that's the thing about playoffs and big games is anybody can be, the hero. So that's why everybody gets up for those games, is for that reason. Like, you could be a hero, you could do something that you don't usually do, and that's what's fun about sports.
And then when you look back at it, like, obviously Matthew scored his, but then there's also that goal that kind of showed it was a bit of destiny. It was that one that Angel Nicola, when he just flipped it over the top and it somehow just rolled through Stevie Lyle. And no one's got any idea how it went through there. But then when you win that game, what's it like winning that final game of the season? Because that is the last time you're on the ice.
It's the best feeling. That's what every hockey player wants to do, is win the last game of the year, because that means that you're the best team. So when we did it, it was awesome. Like, we had such great guys and great season, other than not winning the league. It was just fun. That's why we play sports, is to have fun, and to end it like that. It just sucks losing the last one of the season. That's the one that really hurts. But when you win it, there's nothing better.
And was there any ever talk of you coming back the next year, or were you at that point, were you ready to
try
something new?
Yeah, me and Corey we're like, we had 3 great years, some great fun. And I was just like, I'm going to see, what I can do. I might go somewhere else, another league or whatever. And yeah. And so we parted ways like best friends. Nothing would really get us. We'd never be mad at each other. You know what I mean? Like, I know we butted heads a lot, but we talk it out and we, get it over like adults do. But yeah, it was always, I was going to go somewhere else. It wasn't to Braehead at first, but the rest was history.
And what was it like coming back into Nottingham as a Braehead player?
Weird, man, really weird. Just because the guys, obviously I knew the fans were going to give it to me as well, but yeah, it was fun. Like, we had a good team in Braehead our first year, well coached. If we had maybe one more D, I think we could have maybe taken Nottingham. We went to overtime in the playoffs there, which, we just had no gas left. We had 3 lines and we played 2 maybe. So it's one of those things that I thought we did as good as we could have done.
And you made a huge impression up in Braehead, because you're on their wall of fame up there and things like that.
Yeah.
What stands out to you? What did you enjoy most about playing in Braehead?
Well, what it was the coaching was a different coaching aspect. Drew let me do whatever I wanted to do. He just said, "You're working out. You're doing this. I don't care what you do off the ice. I really don't. But when you come to work, we're going to get you in better shape." And Corey was more telling me to do stuff, and I kind of to rebel. I kind of wouldn't do it sometimes. It was nothing to do with him. It's just my stupid brain. It just does that sometimes. So when Drew, we just got along right away, and I was in better shape, more focused, because again, I wanted to prove that it wasn't just Nottingham that I could do well with. So it worked out well.
And when you look back at your time in the Elite League, it's always, like, you can tell when you talk about some of the memories you puts a smile on your face.
Mm-hmm. Oh, like a moment.
When you just talk about it in general, you can see that when you've told some stories, like, you've been smiling, like, she obviously got nothing but positive memories of the Elite League.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. like, you know me, wherever I go, I'm going to try to find the positive out of it. And the Elite League, I thought was great. It got better every year. The competition, the friends I made, all that stuff. I loved it. I always tell all people that ask me where to go in Europe, I always say, you know, don't take away the Elite League. It's a great league. You'll have a great time. You know, I'm definitely a pro Elite League guy. So anybody says anything, I loved my 5 years there. And, you know, I don't wish anybody any ill will, or I don't regret anything there.
Is there a moment, a story that always makes you smile? Maybe something that people don't know, a story that makes you laugh that people wouldn't have heard before, or something like that. To put you on the spot.
Yeah, I know. I have to think about it. I have so many. Let me think about that and write you back. But I know I have a few, and just I want to think about this, because I don't want to just say something and then something else pop up. So I will definitely get back to you on that.
Perfect. Well, and then is there a moment then that you look back on, you think that's what I'm proudest of when I was out there? Is it the Challenge Cup when the first one? Is it that playoff weekend? Is it setting a standard in Braehead sort of thing?
I think, well, my last year in Nottingham, knowing that it was my last year and winning 2 cups, I think that was awesome, because again, I contributed a lot on that team and we won. And that's all you want to do is, as a person like me that puts up points, if you don't win, it doesn't matter, right? You know what I mean? You do great for yourself. But I thought, like, we came together. I had a great year. Team had a great year. You know, to end that season like it was, I thought it was a great way to leave Nottingham.
And then obviously we're putting games out on YouTube at the minute from years past, and we're bringing a whole new generation of Panthers fans to seeing Jade Galbraith now. Yeah. And obviously back when you were here, like you said, you were Marmite. You enjoy being that Marmite kind of character. What would your message be to the Panthers fans now?
Well, just that, you know, I'm not mad at any of you for not cheering it for me. I'm not mad at anybody for anything. You know, I love that fans, they pay money to come watch. They can do whatever they want. And just know that I had no hard feelings about anything. You know, I did stuff that didn't make you happy, and I did stuff that made you happy. But all in all, you know, you're fans. I'm a fan of Nottingham. You're a fan of Nottingham.